All right, guys, so let's talk about 9 easy ways to go from broke to financial freedom or retired or just simply to get rich. Doesn't matter what your goal is, these are the 9 easy ways to get there. So the first one is to take ownership. Look, the foundation for any success in life, in my opinion, is taking ownership of what you do. Instead of blaming somebody else, instead of blaming the economy or blaming whoever's in office or blaming your coworkers or your boss or your spouse or anybody else, take ownership for the situation you were in, take ownership for the decisions that you made, more importantly. And yes, there are a lot of things out there that you can't control, and we'll talk more about how to actually deal with those particular situations here in just a second, because it's another point that I want to make. But the ultimate point is you have to take ownership. If you don't take ownership, you will never actually take action, because you will always be waiting on somebody else to create this perfect scenario for you to then, make your millions, become rich, retire early, whatever the case is. You got to start with taking ownership of everything that you control, which is your money, which is your finances, which is how much you choose to work, whether you start a business, whether you decide to work for somebody. All those are all decisions that you choose to make in the end. So you have to take ownership of them. Second, learn how to invest. The vast majority of folks out there, I'm not saying everyone, but the vast majority, the 99%, have no clue how to actually invest. I know I run a stock investing YouTube channel, and I'm shocked at some of the comments that I read, or even some folks that come into my group when they're new, think that they understand how to invest and they have absolutely no clue, or they think they can just follow somebody on social media, copy what they do, and then they'll be rich too. But yet I don't know a single rich person that's done it that way. I don't know a single stock, market millionaire or billionaire or anybody else for that matter that did it by just simply copying somebody else or using this secret trick or this secret tool or this secret formula. All these other things of that nature that aren't true. You got to learn how to invest. Whenever somebody tells me typically, ooh, I wouldn't invest in real estate, that's dangerous, that's really scary, I ask them, are you a real estate investor? Do you have any experience in real estate? The answer always is no, I've never done it before, but my Uncle Bob did this. Or I read this story about, this person over here who says it's a bad investment, or whatever the case is. That's the problem right there. You're taking advice from folks who don't know how to invest. If you want to become wealthy, you want to get rich, you have to learn how to invest in the first place. Number 3, level up your skills. I'm sorry, I know this is hard to hear for some of you guys out there, but the days of simply learning a skill when you're, 18, 19, 20, 22 years old, whatever the case is, and that carrying you for your lifetime was over 40 years ago. That whole setup was 40 years ago was gone. You have to consistently be leveling up your skills, whether that's your communication skills, whether that's your actual skills at your job, whether that's learning a new trade altogether, whether that's learning and being on top of the latest technology changes that seem to be happening daily out there. You have to level up your skills constantly if you want to put yourself in that spot of being financially free, retiring early, whatever the case is. You got to get out of your mind that gone are the days of I can sit back and, hey, whatever say those of you guys out there with college degrees, hey, my degree is going to carry me. Absolutely not true anymore. There was a time when that may have been true. It has not been true for over 40 years now. So you got to level up your skills. It goes right back to what we just talked about, learning how to invest. That is another form of leveling up your skills. The more complex you get and the more you learn about investing, the higher and higher and higher your skill level gets. And guess what tends to happen? So do your returns as well. So level up those skills. Number 4 is master your money. I can't speak for the rest of the world, but the 99% of Americans out there don't even understand basic concepts of debt and income and how money actually works. And it just shows in our spending and all of our other habits that are out there. Folks have not even mastered the basics of money, much less the complexities of using debt to grow your wealth or the complexities of investing and everything else of that nature. You've got to put in the time to master your money. Now, I agree, it sucks that our education system doesn't teach it at all. Really, college doesn't teach it at all either, unless you're in, finance or one of those majors like that. So the education level of money is incredibly poor, at least here in the US. Again, I can't speak for the rest of the world there. I don't have specific data, but I can definitely look at the data right here in the US and know that we don't have a clue as to what we are doing with our money we spend. I guarantee you, I can sit down and I ask folks, if I gave you $100,000 right now, what would you do with that money? And most people know exactly what they would spend it on, right? Or I give you $1 million. Most people know, oh man, I would buy this, I would do this, whatever the case is. So they know exactly what they would spend it on, But that shows me you don't have a mastery of money at all, because it should be talking about, well, this is how I'm going to protect myself from taxes. And then this is what I'm going to do to make sure that that money grows into the future. And then this is maybe the business I'm going to put it underneath, so that way it's protected from lawsuits and all the other crazy folks out there. That shows a high level of mastery of your money when somebody answers the question like that. But if you immediately answer it with, I'm going to buy this, this, and this, and this, it kind of shows me you don't really have the mastery of the money that you should, and you need to master your money. Number 5, create a plan on paper. You guys know that follow me on my other channel. I say create a plan, stick to your plan all the time. And it applies right here as well. You will not become wealthy on luck. It comes from proper planning and then executing on that plan daily to get yourself there. And I say write it down on paper because it seems like a lot of folks will create a plan, but it's a very loose plan. It's not very defined. And more importantly, if it's kind of just in your brain, you can change it all the time, right? You're more willing to bend on, oh yeah, I know I was going to do this by the end of the month, but you know what? I'll just do it next month. I'm really busy right now. Well, it just feels a little bit different whenever you write it down, put it on paper, or at least it's concrete at that stage. And it goes from the idea in your brain to concrete, something tangible there you can point to, put up on your refrigerator, whatever the case is, to push yourself forward and to make sure you're taking actionable steps to do that. That's part of the plan. Part of creating a plan on paper is then writing down all your action steps underneath there in order to, reach the goals of that plan in the first place. So create a plan, put it on paper. That is the easiest way to make sure that you stay on track with your plan. Number 6 is respond, don't react. Now, this is exactly what I was talking about earlier in regards to taking responsibility. You don't control what happens around you all the time, but you do control how you respond. And most people respond by reacting with emotions. Emotions are terrible for your investing. Typically, you make poor choices in life whenever it's a pure emotional response versus taking time thinking about it. That's how you end up saying things you don't really, you end up regretting later on, or you end up making a compulsive decision and, you're mad at your boss, so you just quit your job, walk out, and not even thinking about, oh, great, how do I pay the bill 6 months later, or next week, or whatever the case is. So a lot of folks react instead of responding. Responding is deliberate. It means that typically there's a plan behind it and there's thought behind it. Reactions are simply emotional, reactions to what the heck's going on around you. You learn to respond instead of react. It will make a world of difference in regards to how you control a situation that seems out of your control, but you take control of that situation. Number 7, stop making excuses. Hey, I'm not saying there aren't legitimate things out there that happen, but the folks inevitably who succeed, they don't make excuses. It's just a roadblock on their journey to their goal, to that end state in their plan. So they don't make excuses the why they didn't get there. They just go, oh, okay, this happened. Well, this is what I'm going to do to navigate around it and put myself back on track. There's a big, big difference in the mindset there from making excuses versus just simply treating it as a roadblock and another challenge along the way. It is amazing how I can give the same situation, the same everything to 2 different folks in my group there, for example. And one person will be like, yeah, I can do this. And then if this happens, I can kind of do this. And, I can work through that. And, on and on as we kind of go through the steps to get themselves there. And another person's like, yeah, I was going to do that, but, I really don't have time right now. So next year I should have more time. But, if this happens, I'm going to have to kind of back off a little bit. Like they're already building in excuses before things even happen. That's a mentality. That's a mindset. That is something that happens from somebody who is already determining they're going to have an excuse before it even happens, which means they won't be successful in the end. I don't know anybody that constantly makes excuses that ever accomplishes a whole lot of anything. You got to stop making excuses and start actually just working around all those different things that happen to us in life. Don't view them as roadblocks. View them as just simply part of the journey that you have to work around. Number 8, take daily action. A plan is great. A goal is great. Everything out there is great, but you got to take daily actions in order to get there. Sometimes those actions are small, simply as filling out a form, or maybe I'm going to research this for an hour today. It can be very, very small, but that's, a lot of our goals and a lot of our things, they feel overwhelming because they're gigantic. Well, if you're trying to fit this gigantic 5-year goal into a 6-month period, that's really tough to do, and it makes it really, really hard. However, even if you don't have that mindset and you're thinking, okay, I know this is going to take me 6 years to get to, when you look at it, it seems really, really difficult. But you got to understand that if you take daily action, you will eventually hit that goal. That's kind of the elephant analogy is the one I like to use. How do you eat an elephant? The answer is one bite at a time. And if you eat it one bite at a time, you will eventually have eaten the entire elephant. Now, it may take you longer than you thought. Maybe you're able to accelerate that a little bit, But the point is, it's inevitable that it will happen. It is inevitable you will hit financial freedom if you have a plan, if you have a goal, and if you take daily action towards it, you will get there. Maybe not in the time you thought, maybe earlier, maybe later, but you absolutely will get there. And number 9, be different. Don't be the 99%. This one may be the easiest one to understand and the hardest one to do. You got to understand that when you are like everybody else is going to work the rest of their lives for the most part. Everybody else is not wealthy for a reason. And therefore, whenever I am like them, I get a little bit uncomfortable. I get a little bit scared. Whenever I'm completely different and they're kind of fearful for me, that right there is whenever I know I'm on the right track because I'm doing something that's uncomfortable to the 99% who aren't achieving what I've achieved so far and what I want to achieve in the future. And same exact thing applies to you. The moment you break away from that and all of a sudden you're not doing all those things, buying a new car when you don't really need it or buying all this stuff on Black Friday instead of, focusing on investing or, I'm not going to buy the Black Friday sales over there. I'm going to buy the Black Friday sales over here that, improve my skill set, that, level up my skills like we talked about earlier, that help me master my money or improve my investing. That right there makes you completely different, right? Everybody walking around with new phones, new watches, or new clothes. I don't know, whatever the heck you buy on Black Friday, all those folks like that. If you're like them, you're not on the right track. You got to be different to where, hey, everybody's bragging about all the cool stuff that they bought, over the holidays here, especially obviously Christmas. You should be looking at it and going, yeah, I actually invested in an investing course. You probably get ridiculed. You probably get made fun of a little bit. But I know at that stage, you are being different than the 99% and you will be on track and on your way to hitting that mark, having financial freedom, becoming rich, or whatever the case is. And if you're looking to retire as early as 1 year and on as little as $300,000, check out the pinned comment down there for the Blacklist Financial Freedom Program, where we show you exactly how to do that step by step, a complete blueprint to get yourself there. We got experts in there to help you out as well. Check it out. It's the pinned comment. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.